Thanks for joining me today. My name is Harrell with CS Outdoors. Here today to talk to you about two different types of releases, trigger release and thumb release. It's about mid-July. Now's the time to try different things before the season gets here. So I figured I'd give you guys out there a little sample on what the difference is between the thumb release and the trigger release, and show you some basic differences and hopefully make your decision a little easier on which one you choose when you head to your local pro shop and make your decision. So here today we're going to look at two different releases. We've got the trigger release. This is TrueFire's buckle release. It's a 360. It's a real tree camo. This is a release I've been shooting for a long time. Very durable. It's got the 360 head that spins all the way around, so no matter what angle you're trying to shoot at, you don't have to make any self-adjustments with your hand. The other release here is again a TrueFire, but this is the thumb release. This is the 4-finger edge. Instead of the trigger style that you see here, we've got a thumb release that you pull back here once you're at full draw. One of the basic differences between these two, obviously, is the type of release that you have. This release here is more of a trigger. Those of you that are used to shooting handguns or firearms, a lot of you will go in your pro shop, see the trigger release, and just pick that based on it being the most familiar, most comfortable to you. So again, that's what I did when I first started out bow hunting. I picked up a trigger release. I used this for many years, and recently I did switch to a more of a thumb release. A little bit of a difference, but again, we'll go through the pros and cons of each. But again, back to the buckle release here. How this works: you slide your hand up through the bottom part. This part sits in the back side of your palm here. You'll take this elastic cord, just like a belt, tighten it all the way as far as you can, and then it locks so it's not hanging loose back on the other side here. So with this release, as you can see, fits in the palm of your hand. This part here will move up and down in case you don't want to have that in the palm of your hand the whole time. You can let it go and keep this hand free in case you need to grab other items, grunt calls or rangefinders, what have you. But it's nice, it fits my hand pretty good. Once it's tightened and tense, it'll pull the release as tight as it can go. So let me grab the old Boltec Carbonite here and show you what I'm talking about. Pull the trigger release to open, set it on your knock loop or your string directly. Here I got the knock loop, so I'm going to set it on there. As you can see, as you pull tighter and get some tension on this, the pointer finger is going to be pretty much aligned with that trigger. When I'm pulling, I usually keep my finger behind, so I pull back, therefore I don't have any accidental slips and pre-releases. Basically, when you pull tight, you can see it's very comfortable. All the weight is in the wrist. So I'll go through this more in depth with the thumb release, but as you can see, I don't have anything with my hand holding the arrow back at all, or the bowstring back at all. It's all being held with my arm, and the tension's on my wrist. That's a big pro for this trigger release. So as I let this go, again, you can have your hand free, and all the pull force is being held in your forearm, your shoulder, and your wrist. If we look at the thumb release, I'll take this off real quick. When you hold this thumb release, you basically have it, this 4-finger here, 4-finger edge, your pinky, ring finger, middle finger, and your pointer all fit here, nice and snug. This release does have a little bit of weight to it, which makes it nice. It's heavy duty. It's not like the plastic releases that you see out there that are thumb releases that are $10, $12 that are plastic. Definitely, if you're going to invest in a thumb release, get the heavier duty one. I know they're a bit pricey out there nowadays, but it's definitely worth the money with the durability factor. So when you pull this tight, again, let me grab the old Boltec, put it on the thumb release. When you pull this tight, you actually have to hold it with your fingers. So there's nothing else holding it other than your hand. So when I pull tight, all the grip here, as you can see, is with my hand. Whereas again, the trigger release was more wrist and shoulders. This one you have to wrap your fingers around it, and there's some hand strength required to be able to hold this back. That's one of the big pros with the trigger release. versus the thumb release. The other thing you want to consider though is when you're holding this thumb release here, you can see all the action is with your thumb. You just release it with your thumb. One of the big problems that I found that I'm having with the trigger release, and again, this is with handguns, firearms, anything that you can think of, you know, shotguns, anything that you're using that has a trigger. The biggest problem with inaccuracies in triggers, and again, shooting firearms the same way, is when I lock this tight and I have it tight, I have a tendency when I pull my finger, my trigger finger here, when I pull my wrist a little bit. Now, when you're holding steady here and you pull, you have a tendency to change your stance, change your front grip, and that'll change where your sight pin is at on your bow. So I try to practice, you know, as much as I can just by sitting here and trying to pull the trigger without moving your hand and just using finger only. It takes a lot of practice to do that by only using your finger. Right now it looks easy because there's no tension on it. But when I draw back and you try to just move your finger without moving your whole wrist, it takes a lot of practice to be able to do that flawlessly. So over the past few years I switched to the thumb release, and you don't have that problem. Your thumb is a more independent digit than your pointer finger. So when you're pulling back, all you do is a little flick of the thumb. There's not a whole lot of movement in your wrist or arm or anything else. It's basically all in the thumb. So as you can see, when I draw back here, I can release this thumb pretty easily without moving my whole hand. And that's something that I feel is a big difference in the thumb release versus the trigger release. The last thing that you want to consider is just the mobility. You know, having this thumb release here just is a small thing you can put in the palm of your hand. There's a hole here you can put a little string through and tie it to your wrist if you want to keep it on your wrist and let it hang free. But a lot of times, you know, when I'm especially self-filming some of my hunts, I'm up in a tree and I got my trigger release on and I let it hang free, but I hit the tree stand or I hit my camera with this arm here, as again it hangs free. So the thumb release here, you can put it in your pocket, you can actually attach it to your bow loop for when you've got it just sitting there hanging, so that when the big buck walks by, you can just grab it and you're ready to go. You got the hand free, there's no clinking and clanging, you're not going to scare them away by accidentally hitting your camera with this loose piece here. So today, you know, basically the three things you want to remember between the trigger release and the thumb release. One, the weight, how the weight's distributed through your arm, your hand, and your wrist. Fingers for the thumb release, more of your arm, and a full wrist and shoulder weight distribution for the trigger release. The other thing you want to remember is your trigger mechanism, whether it be your thumb or your finger, whatever you're more comfortable with. Again, I feel I don't have as much pull force or pull away from my target when I'm using the thumb release versus the trigger release. I feel like I put the sights on, and every time I pull back I have a tendency to tweak it a little bit to the right. Again, it takes practice not to be able to do that. But the last thing you want to remember, again, mobility. Holding this little gadget here versus this big bulkier release leads me in an end result to prefer the thumb release. I know they're a bit pricey. Again, for some of you bow hunters out there that are first getting started, you basically look at this trigger release and see it's familiar with what you've been shooting within firearms. Try the thumb release. I know, again, they're pricey, they're worth it. To me, they make several different models where you can fit your fingers in there. There's ones with big loops so that it doesn't slip out of your hand. I like this forefinger. I have smaller hands, so the forefinger full grip gives me a more comfortable feel. But TrueFire makes some great ones. Again, they also make the buckle straps too. So hopefully this video was helpful. Some of you out there just getting into bow hunting, not sure which one to pick up, you can talk to your sales associate at your local pro shop, and they can guide you in a certain direction. But in the end, it's personal preference. So hopefully by watching this little segment here, you're able to tell the difference before you walk in there and have a little more insight. Check out my next segment as they come up. Again, I appreciate you following CS Outdoors. My name is Rob Harrell, and look forward to seeing you guys again. Thank you.